I'm Paula Gilbert, the editor of Connecting Africa, and we're here at Africa Tech Festival, and I'm with Todd Ashton, who's the Vice President and Head of Custom Unit for South and East Africa at Ericsson in Middle East and Africa. Hi, Todd. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Paula? Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. So let's start off with talking a bit about 4G and how the expansions are going on the continent, kind of what you've seen through your work, and why is 4G still so crucial for Africa?
Good question. So when I came in 2020, well, we had 10% 4G connections across sub-Saharan Africa. The last time we measured, we're at 31%. My experience has shown me that once you cross the 20% threshold, you start to get the network effect. We come out with a new mobility report, I think in November 2024. I am expecting to see even bigger numbers. Now, why is it important? Well, I think it's important for a few reasons. One, the device prices on 4G have gone down quite significantly. So it's becoming more and more affordable for more people in Africa. And that's important so they can be connected to reliable mobile broadband. It's also one of the ways to get inclusivity from a financial services perspective, because as a younger generation comes up, they may be less willing to use the USSD channel and are more used to using apps.
Yeah.
So it's a way for them to get connected. But it's also important because as we start to do 5G in capital cities or big cities, to get good 5G quality, you need to have a strong 4G layer. As we will see, most deployments in 5G still rely on what's called non-standalone. So you rely on 4G as a bottom layer, and then you have 5G for the speeding capacity.
Okay, and then what kind of use cases are you seeing when it comes to enhanced mobile broadband, fixed wireless access, and kind of other monetization opportunities on 4G still?
Yeah, so exactly. So first, if we talked enhanced mobile broadband. So if we take a place like Sandton or maybe downtown Cape Town, where real estate is at a premium, and typically there's sort of higher end customers. I mean, there's more wealth concentrated in cities. It's become the 4G networks start to get more and more congested, but it's more difficult for mobile operators to add mobile sites. And also it's a killer for them from a business case perspective. So what's happening? Then you see mobile operators getting 5G spectrum. And the idea there is instead of adding towers, you add a layer of 5G spectrum. That way you can offload the people who have 5G devices. They will do data on 5G, and that will improve the experience for 4G. So that's really the first use case. It's sort of like a cost avoidance for the mobile operator, but it improves the experience generally for everyone. I mean, you get a good 5G experience, but people on the 4G network will get a better one. The second one is around fixed wireless. And, here we start to see, I was hoping it would go faster, but here we start to see a lot of deployments where 5G is being used as sort of the last mile connectivity for home broadband, and also for SMEs, people work in kiosks and stuff like that. So I think that's an important use case. And I think we're going to see more because I believe on such a vast continent, the business case for fiber will not always be there.
Yeah.
And the affordability maybe for some satellite services will not always be there either. So this is a good way to really reach a broader group. We still need to work on the device prices. One of the common discussions we have when we talk to regulators and mobile service providers is around tariffs and what we can do there to drive the price down further. And finally, I would say still early days, but we have a good example here in South Africa. We are partnering with a company called Comsol, and they are doing private 5G for mines. So they're like a service provider, plus they're an expert for systems integration for mines. We've done a number of POCs with big mines. The use cases are very interesting. One is basic connectivity, but I think the important one is around health and safety. Mining can be dangerous, and the use cases around avoiding vehicle collisions and also avoiding vehicle-to-person collisions. And so I think we will see more and more as mining's kind of a big thing, and I hope to see more in agriculture and maybe manufacturing going forward.
Yeah. And then let's shift a bit to 5G. What kind of growth have you seen maybe over the last year, and what are your predictions for 5G rollouts that are coming maybe in 2025?
Yeah, so device prices are still high, so it's still a high-end service, but we're seeing from places as far as Lagos to Djibouti to Harare, uh, Joburg, Cape Town, where a lot of people are. I mean, this is Nairobi. You see quite a bit of 5G being rolled out now because the devices are there and the service is needed for that enhanced mobile broadband case. So I think we'll continue to see a steady growth of 5G. Meanwhile, we will continue to see a steady decline of 3G. And eventually, I think we might start seeing more 3G spectrum being used either for 5G or for 4G.
Yeah.
2G, I expect to stay for a while because we need the USSD channel for mobile money.
Yeah, it makes sense. Do you have a lot of African telcos reaching out to you about 5G tech, for new markets that they're going into? Are we seeing sort of movement there?
Yeah, I like the use case I talked about, the fixed wireless. I think there's a lot of interest in mobile service providers going into that segment. Now, it's a new kind of segment for them because mobile service providers are more used to selling SIM cards to people like you and me.
Yeah.
And this is, more of a, you could say, an enterprise play or a home broadband play. So I think the area for them to focus really is on the go-to-market, what to do with the devices, and I think we will see good growth as a complement to fiber.
Yeah. And then what's your view on all these LEO satellite operators? I mean, obviously Starlink's been making a big splash in the media over Africa.
Yes, you're right. We've actually been doing standardization in 3GPP to make it possible, for example, on your mobile phone, to be able to take a satellite signal, and even standardization to deploy 4G and 5G on those satellites. So, we think there's definitely a role for satellite players, and definitely in Africa.
Yeah.
And we should never think about one size fits all. Fiber might be good for one thing, FWA for something else, and satellite. What's important, though, is there's a level playing field for everyone. So mobile operators have to do KYC and anti-money laundering, SIM re-registration, all this kind of stuff, which drives cost for them, spectrum fees, etc. So I think it would be important that anyone in the market faces a fair and level playing field. And I think right now we're still kind of in early days with Starlink, but I know there's a lot of regulatory discussions in different countries on this topic.
Yeah, that's an interesting point that I haven't heard much about, but we'll have to see what the different regulators say in different places. So maybe shifting to Cloud RAN and those solutions, how are they kind of impacting the African market, and how's it different to a normal RAN network,
So
cloud side?
Yeah, so I mean, that's sort of a big topic. So if we take the sort of the general concept of Open RAN, and we ignore the geopolitical part of it, it is a way to start making the networks more software oriented, and I'll come back to that. But that's generally, Cloud RAN is another way to deploy mobile networks where you might want to make like a baseband hotel. And so instead of putting all the basebands out at the site, you would put in sort of like a data center where you could then more easily move capacity around at different sites. But I think maybe the real question is around Open RAN.
Yeah.
And what we think, so we've been driving very hard there. We have a very big contract, which I think everyone's heard about with AT&T in the United States. What we start to see more and more is it's software from radio all the way to the mobile money. And as that becomes more prevalent, the networks become more programmable. So if you ask me a question, will there be a lot of mix and match radio in Africa? I don't think so, because I think the integration costs will be prohibitive. Will you start to see Open RAN capable networks? Yes. I mean, what we're deploying is Open RAN capable. And the purpose of that is to allow the network to become programmable. If I can give you a use case for what that might look like, and particularly relevant in Africa, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but coming, because mobile operators don't just have the network, they have mobile money. So imagine you're in a rural town, it's raining, and you get into a small car accident. From the mobile network, and you want to file an insurance claim. And imagine you could do it instantly. From the mobile network, you can get location. You can find out if it really was raining from the microwave. You can take a picture with your phone of the accident, and then you can go under your mobile money and file the insurance claim and get the money instantly back. If you were hurt with the location and the number of devices in the network, the ambulance service could find out what the best route is to come find you. So I think those cases will become more prevalent, but it's early days.
Okay,
Yeah.
interesting. And then what's your view on kind of AI and how that's impacting the telecom sector in particular and some of the use cases there? I've heard from some of the telcos around the conference. Good for your view.
Yeah, I mean, I even was in a panel. I mean, it's AI has been heavily used. You have to say AI in every sentence.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. But if we get more practical, I mean, for Africa to really take advantage of whatever use cases will be relevant, you still, and if those use cases are the water, you still need the plumbing. So that's why it's so important for us to build that 4G layer that can support 5G. But we use artificial intelligence or machine learning more to strengthen, let's say, our technology play and also to help reduce costs for operators.
Yeah.
One good example is something called deep sleep, where the radio can sense, let's say in one sector, rural area, there's no devices in the network on that radio. The radio will go into deep sleep, reducing power consumption, which just saves money for mobile operators, which means they could build more sites. And then as soon as the device comes in, the radio powers up again. So that's one of 100 million examples you could give, but that's how we think about using AI to make our technology stronger.
Yeah. All right. And then lastly, maybe just give me some, strategy outlook for growth into 2025, 2026 for Ericsson in Africa.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few things. I mean, one is the partnership we have with our mobile operators and the public sector on seeing what are the barriers that prevent us from building out the connectivity more. And I gave the example of devices. It's the same around spectrum. I mean, if you really believe, which we have evidence to prove, that as you increase mobile broadband speed, your GDP will increase. If you really believe that, then maybe you don't want to charge high duties on phones. Maybe you don't want to make spectrum licenses too onerous and too expensive, because you will, over time, grow the economy. So that's one area. Then I really think it's about finding the use cases that will make 5G work. And finally, we focus a lot on really studying the mobile networks, understanding where the devices are, and helping our customers making surgical investments instead of a one-size-fits-all investment. Because then you might have a capex bump that they can't afford. So it's really about being surgical so they get the right return on investment for where they're going. So I think that's sort of the main things we do. And then it's about remembering that we've been long-term partners and trying to find win-wins for each other.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we're going to have to leave it there. But thanks very much to Todd Ashton from Ericsson Middle East and Africa.
Thanks, Paula.